Greetings, unsettled souls, and welcome to the Correct Views. There is a new HDF camera. Don't know how it's going to work. It's on an iPhone. And there is the usual low def. I'm not going to do the introduction, the 5 minutes to let everybody trickle in, because I don't completely trust that camera. So what I'm going to do is go right into the news after I tell you to hit share, hit subscribe, make sure it's out. Christelle is behind the scenes queen leaving, so when the phone doesn't work, it will be her fault for not keeping an eye on it as we had asked her to do, but she's going to leave us. We're in trouble.
Hey, I fixed the light for you before I went on.
I have the behind the scenes queen that leaves me and doesn't stay behind the scenes. It's terrifying. GatewayPundit.com, Pakistani girl kidnapped and sold into sex slavery. She's found, returned home, where she is honor killed by her brother for being a whore. Nothing says loveness and forgiveness like certain sects of the religion of peace. I mean, again, and I'm friends with some Muslims that one lady in particular I use as a source. She's far smarter than I am. You know what? She's against this too. Sharia law is not all Muslims. However, there is such a high number of Muslims that believe in this that it's a much bigger problem than what they want you to know, what they want you to acknowledge. How big of a problem it is politically incorrect. You can't even talk about it, okay? Well, listen to this. Kidnapped was 12. 12, when she was kidnapped, did not go away on her own volition. Kidnapped, child snatched by relatives, her own family, and sold into sex slavery. When she was found and returned to her family, her brother shot her dead for being a whore. The Express Tribune reported. The teenage girl was found dead in a well at her home in Albab Tapu area on Wednesday, and police suspect that her brother murdered her for the honor and dumped her body there. Because in certain precepts of radical Islam, your family gets dishonored if for any reason the girl is deflowered. Even if she's raped. She's a 12-year-old girl. She was sold by her family. They probably told her, I always quote the Mars is Heaven episode. Oh, smile, go to sleep. Next thing you know, you're sold into slavery. If you haven't seen it, look up Mars is Heaven. Listen to this, friends. An officer at the Matani police station told the Express Tribune that Kianat, 17, because she was sold into slavery when she was 12. She lived all the way to 17. Think about how many times this poor girl was abused. She was shot dead by Kusar Khan, her brother. Later, Kusar threw his sister's body in a well at their home. I hope she has some horrible disease from, and they somehow get it. I'm dead serious. I hope they're drinking like Walking Dead water. If you don't watch the episode, you don't know what I mean. The body is extremely decomposed as several days have passed since the murder. A Rescue 1122 team fished it out of the well after a lot of effort, the officer said. A resident of the area said the girl had gone missing when she was 12. He added that the girl was kidnapped by her relatives and sold several times. She was then forced into prostitution in Lahore. It's really called Lahore. Her father kept searching for her and was finally able to find her. So what happened? The Matani police had rescued the girl and returned her to the village. The resident said after the girl was rescued, she had identified the relatives who had kidnapped her when she was a child, but they were never booked. Isn't that amazing? So this girl had the bravery to return in order to bring justice to the people that did this to her. And she didn't get, the authorities left her for dead. This is a huge, huge problem in certain aspects of Islam here. It said the police said Kassar was accused her sister of having illicit relationships with some men, and that could have been a motive for the murder. I tell you what, there needs to be a motive for his murder. This is barbarous, to say the least. And this is not uncommon. And this is where you end up also with a problem that doesn't really have an easy solution. Do we leave our borders open so that everyone that claims to be like her can come in? Because she probably would have been a pretty decent American, and I'm not afraid to say it. But how do you know who it is that's coming in? My friend Kyle Phillips, it was great to hear from him the other day. One of the reasons, though, that we don't agree on Trump is that he thinks the border should just be left open. Just come on in. Because our life is so good here. He used the analogy of a spicy chicken sandwich. They're absolutely poison. They're from Wendy's and they're delicious. Give them those, they won't want to blow things up. Well, that'll work for some, but it won't work for all. So the idea of finding which people we want to leave into the country and which people we really don't, that's not an easy question to answer. The only way to answer it is we need proper vetting, and unfortunately that takes a while. And yes, that does mean that there's a chance that more people like her are going to die waiting. But if we let people in, like Trump's letting 50,000 people in, if we let people in and we monitor who's coming in, and there's less of a chance of us getting somebody like her brother in the country. Because let us remember, if we get somebody like him in the country, well, now we've taken how many steps back? Who knows how many people could be harmed? There's the other side of that coin, is my point, and people don't often think of that. Friends, listen to this. Exorcist called to Coronation Street Studios after acts refused to rehearse due to suspected paranormal activity. And you're probably going to be saying, Sam, why are you wasting your precious airtime with such a stupid story? Well, I'll tell you what, you're seeing a lot of exorcisms happening. And there's two ways to look at this. Both of them are pretty positive. I personally am a Christian, and I believe in demons. Do I believe that everyone who thinks they're possessed has a demon in them? No, I think the vast majority of them are probably bat crap crazy, if you must know. But in some instances, I'm sure there are. In other instances, and I got more viewers coming in. Hello, please leave a comment. Thank you so much. If we have people that believe that the exorcism cures them, and they stop acting demonic, then haven't we also, in essence, done a great thing? So no matter if this was real or not, the rise in exorcisms, I'm not necessarily against. The Exorcist has been called to the iconic Old Granada Studios after reports of strange goings-on interrupting rehearsals. And now remember, to get an actual exorcist condoned by the Catholic Church is all but impossible to do. It is not very easy to do. That is one thing that the movie The Exorcist was correct about. Home to the former Coronation Street set, the Manchester studios have reportedly suffered from paranormal activity for years. Organizers of the rap, partly due to take place at the studios at the end of this month, were forced to call in The Exorcist after a tribute act failed to play because they claimed they had experienced a ghostly presence while performing. Organizers of the rap said that it was due to take place at the end of the month and they were forced to call in The Exorcist. The band is scheduled to play at Old Granada Studios Party Rap. The studios had previously hosted the Most Haunted 2005 event, who came to investigate the former Coronation Street set after a number of reports of paranormal activity. There is also a substantial amount of historical evidence suggesting that the studio is built on top of a graveyard, something featured in most haunted episodes. And another theory to explain the paranormal activity is that dormant stars have returned to the studios and tried to upstage their replacements. Alright, at what point is it in someone's head and in what point is it real? That gut instinct tells you on that one that there's a real good chance that the people were more crazy than they were in need of an exorcist, perhaps. But again, I think when you encourage this kind of thing, you will always find people that will laugh at you. But I don't know necessarily that it's a bad thing for the reasons I gave. I'm glad that's working because the mic on this has just started working. I was trying to wonder why everybody kept leaving. Zero Hedge. People are like tuning in and then leaving, and now I see why. Julian Assange speaks out the war of the truth. Now, this is interesting because it's a rather long interview with Ron Paul here. I'm just going to let it play in the background so you can at least see it. But one of the things he says here, listen to this, having blasted the Trump administration for their hypocritical flip-flop from loving WikiLeaks to the arrest Assange, that's what they were calling it, the arrest Assange, like a campaign. Ron Paul made his feelings very clear on what that signals. If we follow this president, and if we allow this president to declare war on those who tell the truth, we have only ourselves to blame. Today he sits down with WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange for an interview. Now let us remember that one of the things that was given to us by Julian Assange was the fact that Hillary Clinton was a satanic spirit cooker, at least those around her were. We learned that she was taking copious amounts of money from Saudi Arabia and countries that actively destroy the lives of women, as we just read about. A lot of money from these kinds of groups. Now, does that mean Trump shouldn't go after him if he feels he broke the law? Well, if the law is immoral to start with, then what he did is actually good. I think it's a slippery slope because I'm mildly worried. I got the truck behind me there. I'm very proud. But I'll be honest, friends, there are things about me, or things I should say about Trump that cause me great concern. There's more people coming in. Welcome aboard. I'm concerned about Syria. I didn't like the attack. Then again, it was a strike, not an attack. He didn't put boots on the ground. He didn't get us stranded in Syria for 5-10 years. He did a Reagan strike. For those of you alive at the time, Reagan, Libya, you know what I mean. You were in, you were out. But again, I worry about some of the things that are addressed here. And when Ron Paul talks to Assange, it's really interesting, one of the things that are said. The CIA has been deeply humiliated as a result of ongoing publications. So this is a preemptive move by the CIA to try and discredit our publications and create a new category for WikiLeaks and other national security reporters to strip them of their First Amendment protections. And let me clarify what that means for those just tuning in here. What they are saying, what they're claiming, is WikiLeaks exposed, let's say, Hillary Clinton gets X $100,000 for speaking. They say, well, how did you get that information? Oh, you got it from Russia. Or Julian Assange published it and it was stolen. Let's blame him. Let's blame Putin. All right, let's pretend Putin and Julian Assange worked together. No proof of it at all, but let's pretend they did. Why are we not talking about the fact that something very important was exposed? And we see this every single time we see some kind of a leak. We blame the leaker. Isn't that interesting? So what, if a cop catches a burglar, if the cop happens to be a really crappy person in real life, then we just let the burglar go, right? Well, because the cop wasn't a very good guy, so, we'll let the burglar loose. That's what we're seeing here. It makes no damn sense at all. It doesn't matter if Julian Assange is the worst man who ever lived. And I'm sure he's not. He's dating Pamela Anderson, according to rumors. I think she just visits him. Assange said in a preview clip from the interview below, today at 12 p.m. ET, Julian Assange joins me on the Liberty Report. Again, it's a 28-minute interview, so you're going to want to check it out. But I've given you the gist, the nuts and bolts of it, if you will. And you're going to want to watch it. And you're going to want to make sure you hit like, share, and subscribe. Because I've got one story left, but I'm not doing it until I tell you how important it is that you hit share, that you hit subscribe, and that you hit like. Do you know what YouTube's doing to us? They won't let me monetize this. Oh, it's monetized now if you're watching, but you'll see. You'll see. They won't let me monetize it because I mentioned a Muslim family doing an honor killing. You know what that means? That means I get nothing for doing this show. Not a damn thing unless you donate. At thecorrectviews@hotmail.com. You can do so at paypal.com. PayPal. Thecorrectviews@hotmail.com. I'm going to get back into it. I'm not going to preach forever. Please fund the show because you're the only people that do. And without you, I can't even... The iPhone is taped to the tripod right now to be as real as can be. Friends, that brings us to the dumbdee of the day. What's that music? All right. Who is the idiot, the dumbdee of the day? Oh, friends, it's a bad one. Cut. Beautiful. Bath Township man arrested after calling 911 to request a police dog for stolen heroin. A Bath Township man, Chris, you can hear behind the scenes Queen laughing as she is in the other part of the studio. A Bath Township man was arrested after he called 911 requesting a police dog and reporting that heroin was stolen from him. The call, made in January, was released by News 5 this week, is one of the strangest calls that Police Chief Mike McNeely has heard in 41 years of law enforcement. Dispatchers take all types of calls. This one was one of the most bizarre that I've ever heard. According to the 20-year-old Joseph Murray, dialed 911 and said he needed a police dog. So, of course, why do you need a police dog? He replied, she stole heroin from me. Police body cameras show officers questioning Murphy. On the video, Murphy can be heard explaining that the woman stole money from him. Of course, the officers suspected that maybe a little bit more than just money was involved here, especially after his call. And they wanted to know about the heroin that was mentioned.